How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame. We are back for part 2 of our Game Week 30 Plus preview. Today we're going to be looking strictly on transfers. So we're going to take all the knowledge that we've gained and we're going to make some transfers, or at least solidify certain players that are going to be in our team. And if I do make any further changes later on today, because I won't take it anything past today, because the more I think about it, the worse it gets, and then you can start changing up your team. You start, not going with your gut feeling and all that sort of stuff. So we'll make sure to at least concrete some of our players, and if not all of them. So without further ado, let's check out what we have. So this is our team that we currently have. We showed this yesterday. We did our predictions video and whatnot, which is up on YouTube now. So make sure to go click the YouTube link down below to check that out, as well as all our other FPL videos. But today we got to deal with this. We got to see what we're going to do, because basically what we're looking at is whether we want a bench boost or if we want to triple captain. Now I'm leaning more towards the triple captaincy, because as I mentioned in my previous videos, when you bench boost this week, there's only 4 double game week teams. So the most double game week players you can have is 12. You can only field 11 of those players. And one of the double game week players then sits on your bench, which means when you bench boost, the players that you would get off your bench, 3 of them are going to be single game week players. So only out of the 4, because let's say your 12th man is a double game week goalkeeper, hypothetically. You have your double game week goalkeeper, then you have 3 single game week players. If you bench boost in another week with those exact same players, the goalkeeper will be the only one that changes to a single game week player. So is it worth it to use the bench boost this week? Is there good enough fixtures? Are the double game week teams that good? Some might say no. For Man City, Pep Guardiola, the managers, come out and said that there's definitely going to be rotation. We kind of already knew that. Arsenal, things are up in the air. They obviously play Man City, which obviously isn't great. Aston Villa concede goals for fun, so is it really good to get in some of their defenders? They don't really have many striking options. They only have midfield options, really. So it is a bit tricky. It is a bit tricky. Well, let's see who we can basically alleviate right away. So, let me bring up a notepad here, just so we can make some mental notes. Hopefully everyone can see that in the middle. You can. Alright, so basically what things are we definitely looking at? Well, for Man City, we definitely want KDB and Aguero, even though there is possibility for Aguero to only play like 30 minutes in the second game versus Burnley, because they have quick turnaround in the following game week versus Chelsea. So that's kind of a bit of a important thing to kind of look at. So you're kind of expecting Aguero, as I kind of did going into this week anyway. Aguero's going to play 60 minutes probably thereabouts in the Arsenal game, and he'll probably play 30 in the Burnley game. Is that good? It's probably fine. It is Man City, but he might play both games. Who knows? And then they might just play Jesus in the game versus Chelsea, and they may feel that he's a better fit. From Sheffield United, we are looking at Lundstrom, because obviously he's 4 million in our team, and he's pretty easy to get. We're looking at Henderson, and then we're looking at +1. So whether that be a defender or a midfielder of some kind, I'm leaning towards a defender, preferably one of the wingbacks if I can get them. If not, it's going to be one of the center backs. So the wingbacks obviously being Baldock and Stevens, the central defenders being Egan and O'Connell. From Arsenal, we are looking at Aubameyang. We are also kind of keeping an eye on Nketiah. And then we're looking at probably some type of wingback, basically. Potentially, it depends on how we're gonna play this out. If we're doing a bench boost or a triple captaincy. It just kind of depends. If we go this route with the Sheffield United, we'll probably look for more of a cheaper defender, so we can put the emphasis on the midfield and attack, because we want to attack the game week. We want to get a lot of attacking points. Also, I should probably mention +1 midfielder there as well. And then from Aston Villa, we're basically just looking at Grealish, mainly. McGinn, probably not so much. And then Target. If we want to have him as a bench option. If we have the extra 0.1 to put him on the bench as a potential backup, if somebody doesn't play both games or the single game week and he comes in, it's not the end of the world, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at for the double game week players. For the single game week players, from Wolves, Jimenez, or I'll call him Jimmy. We have Willy Bolly, and then potentially Jota / Traore. And then we can also take a look at Chelsea. So we're looking at the likes of Mount, Abraham, and then maybe Tomori. We'll just put a question mark there. Other single game week players is Liverpool. So we have Trent, we have Mane, we have Salah. That's probably it from them, because we don't have Robertson currently in our team. We have some Leicester players that we could still keep Barnes. We have Vardy. Those are kind of a very, very, very big question mark. We still have Ings, who has a good fixture, but it's not really great. And then apart from everything else, we're kind of really not kind of paying attention too much to it, to be fair. So kind of the things that we can go and get out of the way with right now is basically make space for Aguero. So how are we going to do that? Well, we have to get rid of either Ings or Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin plays against Liverpool, but we do have a lot of value tied up in him. Ings has a very good fixture versus Norwich, who are down the bottom in terms of like just conceding goals. But it seems almost too obvious to have him. So I'm just going to do the easy thing right now. I'm just going to take Ings out. I'm going to put in, where's Man City? Sergio Aguero. We'll add him in there. In terms of, who else do we want? We have Henderson, Lundstrom. The thing is, we want Aubameyang or Nketiah. One of the two, probably Aubameyang. So that means Calvert-Lewin has to go because we're going to keep Jimenez. So let's just do that as well. I'll just put that slot in there. And the thing is, we can't get rid of Jimenez at all because we want to keep his value, because we're definitely going to want him next week and going forward. So even if whether we wildcard or not, we're still going to keep him. So we don't want to get rid of him at all because we're already losing a lot of value, because we're going to have to get rid of Salah or Mane, because obviously, as you can see, we can't keep this. So looking back at the list, we obviously have Lundstrom and Henderson already in the team, so we can get rid of that. We have KDB and Aguero in the team, so we can get rid of that. This is +1 mid or +1 defender. So that could be Mendy or Mendy / Laporte in particular. This mid is, I think it can only be Sterling or Sané, personally. I just think Mahrez could be a bench option, but I want to get Sterling because Sterling is going to definitely start one of the games. He has to, because he's like the third or second best player, so I'm almost certain that he's going to have to play. This +1 is going to be obviously a defender. I don't think a midfielder is right. And then this wing back is obviously a question mark here. So who do we have to get rid of out of the Liverpool players first? Well, if we look at our value, Salah is 0.2 more than what we have now, and Mane is 0.5 more. So if we have to get rid of one right now, let's say, we would get rid of Salah. Plain and simple. And then we just put this on all players. And we get Grealish because he's obviously the best possible player for his position and can potentially, score, even though he is up against Sheffield United. But obviously we're still 3.1 in the hole as well, and we're still looking to bring in Sterling as well. We do have other options, obviously, to alleviate that. We still have Mane, we still have Trent. Now, in terms of just cheap defenders, just to swap out and basically be as a placeholder, for now, what I will do is Lascelles is the exact same price for Messina, but he has obviously a better fixture this week. So we'll just put him in there just because he's just a placeholder. That could be Target, that could be pretty much anyone. Sarr is most likely going to be, and Barnes, are going to be removed for our enablers. So I'm just going to put Cantwell just because he's super cheap for now. We'll put him in there. He's not going to play because we're going to play the other 4 midfielders, guaranteed. And then we said we definitely, if we can, we want to get Sterling. So we basically want to set up where we have our City players set up in this way. Problem is that we have to get, in this scenario where we bring in Sterling, we have to get rid of Mane. We have to. There's no other choice. If we're going to bring somebody back later on for Liverpool, it's probably Salah because he seems to play more minutes. And he typically plays a bit more centrally and more in front of goal. He's also on penalties when Milner's not on the field. So, unfortunately, we would have to get rid of Mane. Now, in terms of who's going in that spot, that's another question, unfortunately, that we have to figure out. That's another question we have to figure out. Now, I have a few teams up on the side here. Alright. Oh, that right, of course. Forgot. One of the single game week players we're definitely going to bring in is a Man United asset, I think. Because although they play Spurs, it just makes more sense to do so. Just makes the most sense, honestly. It's a really good player in Fernandes. This could be Pogba, but there's speculation that Pogba may be on the bench to start. There's also, Martial may not necessarily play the first game. They might go with something different against Spurs, where they play Ighalo and Rashford alongside each other. They might do. We don't know. But I think Fernandes is obviously the safe bet. He is there, he is United's best player, for sure. At the moment. Problem is, we still have 3.7 that we have to alleviate. So, are there ways of doing that? Well, if we're triple captaining, we get rid of McCarthy. And we just put him to a 3.9. That's what we can do. So, let's do that right now. I think Stecklenburg is 3.9. Because we're not bringing any Everton players in. So, we save a little bit of money there. Soyuncu, we can slightly downgrade. We'll just bring in Egan. That was one of our defender options. So we're saving a little bit more money there. And then we still need to obviously alleviate more money, which means that in this situation, either we trade Aubameyang out for Nketiah and we go for the bench boost. Or we take Trent out, bring in some lower defender, and keep the team as is. So what it would look like would be something like this. So we have 4.4. I believe target is 4.4 exactly. So we'll just bring him in just because he fits that price point. And basically we would have perfect money in the bank. We would start Jimenez, Aguero, Aubameyang, Grealish, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Sterling, Lundstrom, Egan, Henderson, and then either Target or Bali, one of the two. Obviously, Target's a double gaming player. His fixtures aren't the best. We could just use him just because he's a double gaming player and just keep Bali for another game week. Is Wolves likely to keep a clean sheet? I mean, most teams aren't, unfortunately. We've seen this from the Bundesliga as well. So it'll be either one of those two, maybe a game time, but everyone else would pick themselves. Jimenez would definitely play. Aguero would definitely play. Aubameyang would definitely play. Grealish, Fernandes, Bruno, or De Bruyne, Sterling, Lundstrom, Egan, and Henderson all pick themselves. It would just be a matter of who do we play out of Cantwell, Bali, Lascelles, and Target, basically. Because Jimenez is better than Bali, Lascelles, Target, and Cantwell. And then you just pick from those four. The other way this team could look is we downgrade Sterling slightly. We get rid of Target. We add in Bellerin. And then we go for somebody like Sane there. And potentially look to upgrade something somewhere else, maybe. Like, we take out Egan and we put in Stevens. Would be another thing that we could choose. However, Sane is coming off a long extended injury break. Could be a bit, a bit different there. Because is he guaranteed to start any of the games? No, he came off a long injury, just like there's speculation around McGinn, who's just come off a long injury. However, the one thing that we can cling on to is that he's obviously been training for a little bit now. When City was at their best lineup was obviously Ederson in goal, Mendy and Walker as their left and right back, Laporte and would have been Company, but I guess now you're looking at Otamendi, or I guess you could play Fernandinho there. And then you would have Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, and then either Bernardo Silva, David Silva, or Gundogan in there. Probably, I would say Bernardo Silva is probably the better player in there. And then obviously up front you'd have Sane, Aguero, and Sterling. Some people might say that Mars is better. But again, City's team is super flexible, whereas they can all basically play in the front six positions effectively, apart from Aguero, who's basically their number 9. He's playing down the middle and up front. If we went for the bench boost option, we'd have to change things up a bit, just slightly here. We would... Our 3 single game week players would be Jimenez, Bali, and Fernandes, and we try to do double game week players in replacement of Cantwell, in replacement of Lascelles, and the goalkeeper. So if we put in Leno, we have a 4.2 spot and two 4.3 spots basically we could use. So obviously Target is a 4.4. He would be a double gaming player. And then the other spot would probably just go to some random Arsenal player, basically. Which would have to be obviously a midfielder. The one we would pick in this situation... It's not great, basically, who we're picking. Let's say I'm just going to put Guendouzi there just for the time being. Obviously, that's not great. And we'd have too many Arsenal players from our team anyway, so we can't even do that. We could, however, go with all players. Douglas Luiz, who is in favor. And then downgrade Stevens to the likes of Egan. And then go with that for a bench boost team. Obviously, we have triple Aston Villa, triple Arsenal. Probably the best 3 Arsenal players you can get. Probably. But not... Me personally, I don't care for that team too much. In my opinion. Because you're basically relying on an Arsenal defender and goalkeeper to keep clean sheets, and versus Man City one of those games, so that's not going to happen. And Target to keep a clean sheet. So, effectively, what we're trading out is a bench boost on this team, where we're forcing out players like Cantwell, who we wouldn't even use. So Douglas Luiz versus Cantwell's obviously slightly better, but Douglas Luiz plays 2 games. Target versus Lascelles. Target plays 2 games, but Lascelles is a better defender, and their team is slightly better in terms of keeping out goals, even though it is Newcastle. Then we're looking also at just a blank goalkeeper that we wouldn't play anyway, and Bellerin instead of just another defender that we wouldn't play. So we have to think: is it worth it here? Could we use the triple captaincy in another game where we have a bit more information? Potentially. Let's take a look. So we could use the triple captaincy. Let's see if there's anything in this game week potentially. Liverpool at home versus Crystal Palace. The league might not be wrapped up yet. Again, it depends. So that's an option. Jamie Vardy at home versus Brighton. Could be something. But we'd have to basically structure our team around that. And Leicester's, it's not great. Game week 32. Potentially a Chelsea player. Potentially a United player in this week. Potentially a Wolves player. Again, United player, Chelsea player, Liverpool player. But again, this could be wrapped up, so we don't know who's actually playing. Could be playing in this game. It could be somebody could be benched, which is why it's a bit tricky. And Liverpool is definitely, Liverpool's not in the Champions League anymore, so they're gonna probably play whoever they feel like it. So it makes it even more random. Whereas at least if okay, they're saving their players for the Champions League, you can say, okay, well, it's probably not going to be Salah, it's probably not going to be Mane, that sort of thing. United versus Villa, that could be a triple captaincy option in 34. 35, obviously United again. Potentially something in the Arsenal Spurs game, could be a lot of fireworks in that game. Again, Leicester, but again, Leicester's fixtures are up, down, and you can't free hit and triple captain in the same week, which is a bit unfortunate. Man City at home to Bournemouth. Could be something there. I believe they're still in the Champions League. Chelsea at home to Norwich. That could be another game as well, where you triple captain like Tammy Abraham or somebody like that. United at home to West Ham. Could be another good game. Obviously, historical data will show that United is never typically very good versus West Ham. So... yeah. Hey, Liverpool not being in the Champions League isn't obviously, it's not the end of the world. You're gonna win the Premier League this year, and you won the Champions League last year. So, hey, it's not too bad. Put it this way, I'll take it. I definitely take it. Champions League one year, Premier League the next. Obviously, you'd like to win both, but still gonna be a good season regardless. I still think they're gonna get 100 points or more anyway, so which is another good achievement. And then the last game week, obviously, City versus Norwich could be massive, so that could be a triple captaincy there. But again, is Aguero going to play in that game? And would you bet Aguero, like as an example, a triple captaincy against Norwich on the last game of the season where they really don't have much to play for, versus him in a double game week versus Arsenal, whose defense isn't great, and versus Burnley, where he might play 30 minutes, or could play both. I don't know. I think personally, again, another thing we have to look at is that if we do bench boost, we're basically sacrificing Sterling for Sané Um, another defender in the spot of Bellerin that could be cheaper, whether that be, like I said, Lascelles or whoever. Basically, just somebody who has a good fixture that's just cheap. Douglas Luiz for the likes of like Cantwell or somebody who's like a slightly better enabler that we know is going to play. Could be a bit tricky. Obviously, another thing that we haven't considered is what does our team look like with Aubameyang as Nketiah? Because that's an interesting prospect as well, because apparently Arteta's come out and said that Nketiah is basically like their guy, effectively, which is something that could be very, very intriguing. So, we could definitely, obviously, keep Sterling, right? Definitely keep Sterling, for sure. And we have a massive amount of money to basically use, which, if we wanted to, we could upgrade the likes of Target, let's say. Actually, we'd probably keep Target. Well, we'd get rid of Lena because we don't need him. If we're playing, if we're gonna play the triple captain, let's say, we would get rid of Bellerin because he's not as good as someone like Doherty, who's a single game week player, who we would play definitely over Target in one game. We could then upgrade the likes of Douglas Luiz to basically anyone else. The problem is that if, let's say, we brought in, let's just go as an example, let's put Martial or whoever, right? The problem is with that is that you can't play 3 forwards and 5 midfielders. You have to play 3 down the back. So basically one of these players will have to go on the bench, which is not ideal that you have 8 million on your team. Which is why I think that if you're going to go the triple captaincy route, it makes sense to put Aubameyang in your team, because you can still, depending on how much money you have, obviously, it still allows for you to basically have a really solid team, and you put all your money basically on the field. If you're going for the bench boost, then Nketiah is probably a better option. Do I like Nketiah in my team? No, I don't. I don't at all. So, I think the most likely thing is this. So, we want, what's his name? Who's the real cheap midfielder that I was thinking of? Can't remember the midfielder I was thinking of. I was just thinking of it. Was it Cantwell? I'll put in Cantwell for the time being because I can't remember. Because we don't need this person to play at all. And then Doherty gets downgraded to. I'm just gonna put Lascelles for now. Because it doesn't matter who this player is here. Like this player and this player, like and this one, they're gonna be interchangeable. You're gonna play either one of those 3. They're all gonna be about the same. Target has a double game week. Bali has a better fixture. Lascelles has a better fixture. It's going to be a coin flip, and clean sheets aren't going to be very good, I don't think, this week anyway. And I think this is the strongest front 3 going into this week, for sure. There are arguments, obviously, you can say you can put Rashford in there, but again, is against Spurs. Is he guaranteed the full 90? How healthy is he? How well is he playing? I don't know. Could we go a little bit cheaper and slightly upgrade somewhere else? Not really. Because we could downgrade to McGinn and then upgrade Egan. But again, it's not the greatest scenario there are there. So, what else do we have here? And then, like I said, you can also be looking at, like I said, Mendy or Bellerin. But again, they're not great options either. But that would require us to bring in like McGinn or somebody like that in midfield, or basically switch some money around and have Pepe instead, which is just, again, not great at all. Or looking at Edison. And like I mentioned before, the bench boost team is, you're only getting one extra player, basically. One extra game, as it were. Could the bench boost be used in another week? Let's take a look. See, I believe 33 was one I kind of highlighted. Liverpool versus Aston Villa. If we know Liverpool are obviously still playing their players for, like, obviously league integrity, or maybe there's some key injuries that make it so that we know Liverpool's lineup, basically, this game could be amazing for Liverpool. Man United versus Bournemouth. United's fighting for top 4. This could be a very good game. Newcastle versus West Ham. This looks like no written all over it. Wolves versus Arsenal. Could be very good. Jimenez could be very good. Traore could be very good in this game. Burnley versus Sheffield United. That is probably the biggest no written on paper I think I've ever seen. If anything, it's a 1-0 Sheffield United win, probably. If we're going by how they played before the started. So you can easily make up a bench boost team for that. And structure your team in such a way. The only problem is that if we look at some of the Sheffield United players, basically, and what fixtures they have leading up to it. So Aston Villa, the double game week's obviously great. Aston Villa and Newcastle. 2 teams that just came up, basically. Because Newcastle's been playing like that all season, although they came up a few seasons ago. But they're down the bottom, and they're not a great team. So Sheffield United, the way they've been playing, they should beat them. Aston Villa, they should beat. Man United away, could be tricky. Tottenham at home, could be tricky. Burnley away should be fine. But in a one-off week, could be something. Or you wildcard in such a way after game week 31 to where you bring in a goalkeeper that's really cheap, that's good, 31, 32, and then 34 onwards-ish fixtures. If we look at some of the goalkeepers specifically for that. Pope's fixtures, pretty good. Not bad. Dubravka's fixtures, not bad. Again, he would be somebody that you could bring in for the bench boost. Crystal Palace fixtures, not too great. And then obviously Leno's fixtures, pretty decent, apart from obviously the 35, 36 game week. So there's a number of things that we can do. However, with this team going into the following week, what will we be looking at? So we'd have, obviously City would be playing Chelsea, which isn't great, but we can wildcard them out. But we could still keep them if we wanted to. And basically Aguero would almost certainly start in that game. We have Sheffield United, who play United, which obviously isn't fantastic. Wolves against Bournemouth, fantastic, very good fixture. United obviously playing Sheffield United, obviously isn't great for us, but we can swap and change there. Aston Villa, they play Newcastle, could be a good fixture there. Norwich play Everton, it's okay. And then Arsenal play Southampton, which is, typically should be a good game. So overall with this team, we wouldn't need to make major changes, but we could set the team up going forward. So after the fact, we can have a team where we would get rid of the likes of Sterling because we wouldn't need him anymore. Get rid of Aguero. Probably keep Aubameyang. Keep Jimenez. We could replace Aguero with Jota for Wolves if we see that he's playing. We could then definitely upgrade Cantwell to Pogba because Pogba will probably start playing again. So I think we have a good skeleton with this team. It's just a matter of, in my opinion, with this team, if you have the availability to play this team. Jimenez is obviously very good single game week player. Aguero is obviously very good. Aubameyang is very good. Sterling, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Grealish, they all don't need explaining. Lundstrom is a risk, but is probably going to play one of the 2 games off the start. Egan's is obviously not going anywhere. He's probably going to play both games. Henderson will play both games. And then it's just a matter of, do I play Lascelles, Target, or Bali? Could I bench boost with this team too? No, because I have Stecklenberg in goal. I would need to change something where it'd be like Sterling down to Sane or Mahrez. Upgrade the goalkeeper a little bit. Maybe upgrade Cantwell a little bit, or upgrade Egan. So it'd be, like I said, it'd be something along the lines of something like this. So we'd go Leno, we'd go Sane, we'd go Stevens, in midfield I would just go Douglas Luiz just because he can play both games. Or we would go, not Stevens, we can go Baldic. We could get rid of Target. And go Bellerin. And then we'd have 4 single game week players. So we'd have Jimenez, Fernandes, Bali, and Lascelles. Which is, yeah, it's whatever. Obviously, this could be, like I said, we could make this Target and find basic money slightly elsewhere. Just find money a little bit elsewhere. Obviously, it's, we, in an ideal scenario, we want one of the wingbacks. This could also technically be Martial as well, but I think Fernandes is a bit more flexible. This could also be a crappy Arsenal midfielder, but obviously that's not great either. So I think the team that we're basically going to be looking at is, like I said, we're going to obviously go basically with full out and bench boost, or the triple captaincy on Aguero. I think that's kind of, or De Bruyne. It'd be one of those 2. It's not going to be anyone else. So I think the players that are guaranteed in the team: Jimenez, Aguero, Aubameyang. This spot's available. Fernandes is in, Grealish is in. This spot is a City midfielder, or could be anything. That spot's available. This spot is kind of available, but it's basically Sheffield United specifically. That spot is technically available to either Leno or Steck, or like a 3.9 goalkeeper. And this is probably available because Target, if I need 0.1, I can downgrade him to someone that's 4.3. It's not the end of the world. We can make way for him, but he's more or less set in stone because he's just a double game week player and he's cheap. Whether we play him or not doesn't really matter too much, but the option is still there. So I think for the time being, I think this is a skeleton that we can work with. So let me just do a little snippet tool here. So this would be, just gonna copy all of this here. So just gonna move this off to the side. Just gonna do some changes here. So bear with me. So this is either oh, my handwriting is terrible. So that's 3.5. That's Sheffield United. That's a 4.3. That's Sterling slash Sane. And that's 4.x midfielder of some kind. This could also be Bellerin. So that's kind of what we're looking at. If we can see that up on screen. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. So this is either Leno or 3.9, depending on if we're bench boosting or if we're oh, music paused. There we go. Either if we're bench boosting or not. This is a Sheffield United defender of some kind. This is a cheap defender or Bellerin, and that depends on, and then target could be basically up for consideration. This is a city midfielder guaranteed, and this is some type of enabler. So that's kind of the skeleton we are more or less working with. So you can guarantee that Bali, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Grealish, Aguero, Jimenez, Aubameyang, and Dean Henderson will definitely be in my team. It's just these other 5 spots, and what chip I use is what is up for grabs. I still think I have to think about it a little bit more. Maybe I can get a little more information, and then I'll post the team later this evening. But yeah, in order to find that out, you'll definitely have to check out on the Twitter and make sure to follow that, because that's where we will post the official team. So let me just go to full webcam here. Yeah, so that's going to do it for today's stream. Like I said, make sure to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, all platforms. PilotFlame226, especially on Twitter, because we're going to post the final team there. Like I said, the players that are set in stone are Dean Henderson as one of the goalkeeper slots, 3 defenders being Lundstrom, Bali, and then some cheap defender, obviously, and then one of those defenders will, one of the 4th and 5th defenders will be a Sheffield United defender. Midfield spots that are up for grabs, there's 2. One will be an enabler, and then one will be either Sterling or Sane. Maybe Mars, but probably unlikely. And then the other 3 is Grealish, Bruno Fernandes, and Kevin De Bruyne. And then our front 3 is set in stone. That's not changing. Aubameyang, Aguero, and Jimenez. I don't like the looks of Nketiah, so we're going to have to go with that. And we have 29.2 million basically for 5 slots. A goalkeeper, 2 defenders, 2 midfielders, and we basically have a City slot available, 2 Arsenal slots available, 1 Aston Villa slot available, 1 Sheffield United slot available, 1 Wolves slot available. So yeah, we'll have to kind of see how that favors out. Obviously, we didn't talk about Chelsea assets as well. Mason Mount is someone that could also be in the team, so that's kind of something on my mind. But again, if you follow us over on Twitter, PilotFlame226, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, give us a like, put the notification bells on to see it when all the videos go up. Make sure to follow us here on Twitch as well, because this is where we do all the streams, which will also be posted up on YouTube afterwards as well. You'll see the lineup later. Hopefully everyone gets their team in order. I'm gonna do a little bit more thinking. I'll post the lineup later and basically put in the tweet my decision behind it, basically on why I went for triple captaincy versus bench boost or vice versa. If I had to say right now, I'm leaning more towards the triple captaincy, but the bench boost option with just full out players on all the double game week teams does seem like a little bit